Welcome to Tech Simplified, and my name is Sly Gittins. I got the one and only Regina Manfredi, Executive VP and General Manager at Crayon. If you don't know about Crayon, you're about to learn about this fantastic company and, most importantly, this fantastic lady. I don't want to steal any more of your thunder, Regina. Can you tell me how you got started into tech and a little bit more about your background?
Sure. First of all, Sly, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast. I'm pretty impressed at what a great job you've done with your podcast up to this date. So it's an honor to be here. I'd say I started in tech in the eighth grade when I went to computer camp
Yeah.
and spent a week and wanted to learn more and was really excited about what I was learning and who I met and all of the experiences that I had there. And so from there, I started at university as a business analyst in a business analyst role, which really was the genesis behind uh, all things data, right? And writing COBOL and Pascal. And I know I'm dating myself a little bit there. But I have to be honest with you, my brain uh, was challenged at times. So while I stayed fascinated with tech, it was a challenge for me that interfered, quite frankly, with my social life at school. I'll be really transparent and honest with you about that. So I took some of my skills around public speaking and around speech and debate and decided that I would sell technology and went to work at Xerox pretty soon after I graduated university. And so that started it. And I really enjoyed what I learned in terms of how to sell at Xerox. I learned back then about a different type of technology than Microsoft technology today, but definitely networking and things along those lines. And so that was really the springboard and the catalyst.
Spectacular. Again, it's pretty amazing that pivot you had to make and moving from Xerox into here. So that's got to be a big jump, right? Making that switch and changing that career. Like, can you talk about really quickly what was going through your mind when you made that change?
It was, my time at Xerox was really good. And
Yeah.
in the history lesson for you here, in the mid to late 90s, Microsoft was really starting to take off. Windows was something that we were all beginning to experience. And I had a friend who left Xerox and went to work at a company, Software Spectrum. And Software Spectrum was a really large reseller of Microsoft. And so the journey was about, hey, I want to go work at Microsoft someday. So I'm going to go learn as much as I can. And so it was about making a transition for learning and making sure that I could best position myself to join Microsoft someday. But to be honest, I love the uh, the fast paced entrepreneurial spirit of the channel. And so I stayed in the channel this whole time. I had an opportunity a long time ago to go work at Microsoft, and I actually chose to stay in the channel because I wanted to maintain that entrepreneurial spirit. And just like back in college, when it was like, okay, I can either be very, very technical, tech centric, or I can continue to be a catalyst for change with technology in the channel space.
Yeah.
That was the same decision. It was easy for me. I was like, no, I'm going to let the really brilliant people who are driving the technology do their thing. I want to be part of the sales motion and helping customers transform their businesses. And so that started a long time ago for me, over 20 years ago. And so just being an extension of of Microsoft initially, and then down the road, even with other cloud solutions providers, that's been the most fun, is getting the customers modernized along through this journey. Because way back then, we literally would get Office in a box, and we would put them on pallets and shrink wrap them and ship it to a customer who had to then deal with all of the discs and the CDs and the certificates to manage their licensing. And so quite a different environment today, and it's always been changing, and that's been a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I think you talk about something that is really pivotal, I mean, critical there, right? You had a dream, right? Going to Microsoft initially. You took a chance to learn, right? Bet on yourself, because that's what I heard there. You bet on yourself that I could go learn this. Realize when you got to the new place, like I kind of like the speed, I like the atmosphere, I like what I'm currently doing. So yeah, I could go to Microsoft, but I'm gonna lose that atmosphere I like, that energy that I like. And I think that's really critical. If anyone's out there listening, if you in that move, it's okay to take those not even risks, those chances or opportunities to learn. That's something I did the same. Like I came out of school at the University of Buffalo. I ended up going to Office of Emergency Management in Brooklyn as a network engineer intern. Realized I hated network engineering, right? I hated being in the data room by myself. No one's there to talk to, just me and the server. And I'm like, this is not for me. I'll spend more time. Yeah, I spent more time hanging out with the help desk reps, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
learning and understanding, like talking to the people and solving the problems from there. So I ended up taking a pay cut and becoming a tech support rep at Ingram Micro, like a distributor for IT. And I loved it, because I knew the opportunity that, Ingram got trained by all the big companies and small companies, and you get to learn more about the business faster. And you get to play at a more enterprise level. And I got to leverage my skill set because I went to school for marketing and IT. But then I realized early on, like I could be a really good engineer, but that wouldn't be what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to kind of have the ability to do both. And from my guidance counselors or career counselors to my managers, like you guys got to pick one. But I was able to find roles like product marketing managers, which technical product marketing managers, technology consultants. Like my role now as a partner technology strategist is half and half. And those skill sets helped me today. So I'm glad I was able to stay on a path similar to you. So I'm excited. And this goes perfectly in our next question. How do how have your personal experiences and your challenges as a woman in tech in the industry helped and crafted and molded your leadership style?
You know, that's a really good question. Um, I would just tell you what as a woman in tech, and you just can't deny the statistics. We represent about 20% of the workforce, broadly speaking, across all technology leaders and ISVs in the market, as well as across the channel. And I'd say that the number one, if I were to really reflect and think back about it, finding my voice and having the guts to share it in a constructive and meaningful way has always really served me well. And also, I would say the other thing was being around other leaders who supported female leaders and were supportive of having a gender diverse organization was helpful. The CEO at Software Spectrum at the time that I was there was a lady by the name of Judy Odom. And it was more important, her leadership style demonstrated that it was more important to have each other's back no matter what, but to be a loyalist and have the voice to say, hey, I think we are not doing this right. And if we consider these three things or these two things or changing this one thing, this can be the catalyst to help us be better. And she taught us that. And I watched both the men and the women in the organization working together in that way that was, mutual respect and respectfully challenging each other at times really left an imprint on me. And genuinely caring about the people that you work with and for mattered. And so, Sly, I would say that I've been other places that wasn't the case. And it didn't work that way at the top, and it didn't work that way at the top down. And so having had that experience really kind of created that thumbprint or that fingerprint of like the code of how I wanted to operate, because I wanted to continue that. It felt familial in a way.
Yeah.
And it really resonated. And it's when you find the right place to work where there's energy and everyone feels like they're on the same team and moving forward together, exciting things happen and get done. And so that's certainly something that I'm carrying heavy in my heart here at Crayon, and making sure that as we transform, as we grow, everybody's got each other's back, and that we're listening. We're really listening to our customers, to our partners, to our customers, so that we're better. And I learned all of that from others. So it's about taking what you learn from the great leaders, learning from the bad ones too, what not to do. That's equally as important. But listening to the feedback and responding to make sure that you're doing the right things, and then your career just naturally takes off. It wasn't something that I said, hey, this is what I got to go do. It just happened. And then the other thing that I would tell people is I've been part of several acquisitions and mergers, and there's a ton of M&A activity going on in the market right now, a ton. And I'm sure there's more ahead for all of us, right? But whoever can adapt the fastest wins. And the people who resist and try to identify everything that's wrong with something, rather than seeking first to understand, assuming positive intent, and diving in and just saying, okay, well, this is what it is, let's go. The ones who adapt the fastest have a tendency to go farther faster, because everyone else is stuck in the change curve. And so in a post-COVID era, I would tell anyone, male or female, adapt as fast as you can, because I firmly believe adaptability is more critical. Your adaptability quotient is more important than your emotional IQ.
I think you just dropped a gem right there that can't be overlooked, because I think especially after COVID, we had to adapt to new terrains, right? We went from in person, where I would conduct these type of interviews face to face. I'd have flew out to you and I'd have set up and we'd have did it that way. But now it made it common where we can have this conversation here. And I saw an opportunity to do that. And, everyone says no one's going to sign up for these things. As a male, why would you want a woman in tech podcast? I'm like, well, I'm an ally. It's like as long as I'm sincere and I make sure I make it about the people that is joining, I can do it. And the good thing I did, right? Because that's where we're going. That's where we are now, right? So being able to pivot, even when AI, I got a more of a security background. The first thing I did once I even heard about, Chat GPT, Bard, I went and learned it. I went to those, I got data science for business. Most of it goes over my head, right? But I'm learning that. I end up getting me like a mentor or a coach that can help me kind of peel back the onion to know how a business can transform with the AI instead of using it more as a practitioner. I just jumped right in, even with security. I remember I was a VMware engineer, and I'm like, man, this VMware just bought Carbon Black. Why are they going into security? And I started reading more articles, and everyone will talk about security. I'm like, what's the biggest weakness in my game? I have no security experience. Either someone's going to tell me to learn it, or I could go learn it right now on my own. And that's always kind of been my gift, is I try to go before I need to go. So then I can kind of set the parameters on how I want to learn. And that's been probably one of the best things that helped me. So I know I definitely agree with adaptability, because I get so much apprehension of why ChatGPT is bad. Then I see my friends, I'm like, it could have solved that problem for you right now.
Yep.
Like one of my friends he's not a good writer. I'm like, dude, have it write it for you. Your manager doesn't care, as long as you make sure it's right. Don't put any proprietary information in there now, but it can definitely help you with writing that sentence, right? To make it a lot better, because this guy's a really good engineer. Then once he did it, he was like, man, this is great, Sly. Like I told you, like just go and, and just try it before you kind of, you don't get the apprehensions. But that goes into a question. So you mentioned the next question, you mentioned that adaptability was your number one for everyone. But from I mean, it was the number one area that you would focus on, right? But from your vantage point as a leader, your experiences, what's the most pressing issues that women face today in technology?
Um, I think that they aren't finding their voice.
Okay.
And women, and I don't think it's just tech.
Mhm.
I think it's just women in leadership in general.
Okay.
We are raised to be pleasers. We are inherently, for those of us who have children, we have a nurturing disposition in many ways, especially once you have kids and other people's lives are truly your responsibility. And so it's challenging at times to find your voice and take those opportunities to truly lean in or ask for a seat at the table. I'm amazed sometimes because there have been a number of mentoring sessions that I've had through WECAN, which is a executive advisory board for women in the channel, and I've got several folks that I mentor through that program. And it's the second guessing to make sure everybody's happy and to make sure everybody's okay and whatnot has a tendency for women to hold back in certain situations and not take those risks. And I think that that's really one of the biggest challenges. They know what to do, but there's a concern of, am I going to say the right thing? Am I not going to say the right thing? And they just end up not even taking the risk. And I've had a number of people raise their hand and say, I really want to go into management, or I really want to go into leadership. And I've said, well, who have you told in your company? Who have you told that to? 8 times out of 10, nobody knows. And if you sit quietly on the sidelines, nobody knows you want to get in the game. And so I think really taking that bold step, and you said something really smart. You got yourself a mentor, right? You've got yourself a coach. I would highly encourage people to do that, because I think a lot of women hold back. And then sometimes we have different points in our careers where we got to step back because of the people that are under our roof. I've done it. I've made that tough decision. And so, but I'd say telling somebody in the company that can help foster that growth is really a critical first step that a lot of people just don't do.
And I definitely agree with that. Like finding your voice and sharing what's your roadmap, being
Mhm.
proactive about that. And it can be scary. Because you don't know, is that, sometimes you might have, will that make the manager feel like I don't like my current role? But it's not. It's actually showing the manager you want to continue to grow within the company. And ultimately that's what you want. And to be honest, from a business perspective, from a leader, the lower you can lower churn, the better anyway. That's people you got to hire, you got to mold, you got to train. So for the business, it's actually helpful. So I think one thing you shared with me, you may not remember when you told me, like, Sly, if you really want to move up an organization, you got to get yourself a sponsor. That was my only homework. I know I could read 100 more books, which I will anyway. But you said to get a sponsor. And that's what I did. I took my time. I made sure to reach out. It was a little bit nerve wracking because you can't go to someone and say, hey, will you be my sponsor?
Right.
I had to take some time to figure out who I had a good relationship with was. But before I did that, where do I want to go? Where can they help? What doors can they unlock? What homework did I do on my own? Right. So that was something I also would share with everyone. Like, know the difference between a mentor and a sponsor, because those are two different things. They
Yes,
can
they
be
are.
the same person, but those are two different roles.
Yeah.
So that's something I would talk about. And I appreciate you telling me that, because that changed the way I looked at my career, So, because I'm a kind of just learn it all type of person. And I
Mhm.
realized sometimes you need that person to help you. Like I learned reporting. reporting that helps my management make decisions. So now I can understand, all right, now I'm an individual contributor. All right, how is this helping the overall business?
Right.
Taking myself out of it. I like to play with the widgets, a tech person. But if those widgets don't create more profitability for the company, then there's no point in me having this conversation. Right. So that was something I would have never known. It would have took me longer to know. But my mentor and my sponsor was able to tell me that.
You
So
know, I was going to say, and hopefully you found a sponsor who will be really honest with you.
okay.
I think there's a lot of sponsors and mentors who take on the job, but don't want to tell you something that's going to hurt your feeling. Making sure that you find the sponsor that gives you that critical feedback. Because, for example, and the reason why I say that is there's somebody that just came to my mind where it's like, you have to be sure you pick someone who's willing to say, hey, you are brilliant, but you've got to work on your executive presence. Or, hey, you have amazing executive presence, but you lack the chops in these two areas and your collaboration is weak. It's not just somebody who's going to mentor you and pat you on the back and fluff you up. It's somebody who will be a true loyalist and give you the constructive feedback too.
Yeah, that's critical because I remember I had my mentor like, Sly, you're great, executive presence, you're reporting and being succinct. You need some work, a lot of work. So yeah, you're too long-winded. That's good in your podcast, but it ain't good when you're trying to deliver a message to the management when you only got 15. Maybe got 15 to 30 seconds. You're like, Sly, what's your 15-minute pitch? I started rambling like that's not it. Like I can't get to know. I need 15 minutes. So he gave me an assignment to go work on my 15-minute pitch. What would you tell me? You don't know who I am. You want me to get to know me. You want to be a manager within my company. What would you tell me? And why? So that's one of my assignments actually working on now, right? Again, something I knew I needed to work on, but then he actually gave me some homework to hold me accountable for it. So that was kind of cool. I think we talked about this, and for our next question is, in your opinion, what are some key qualities that are necessary for women to succeed in leadership?
Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Um, finding a way in which you share. I think a lot of us are intimidated at times, myself included. I'm speaking from experience. It's not there are times where I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to convince this person who is incredibly skilled or talented in this particular area, and I know nothing, and I don't want to be exposed because I've got some learning still to do in this area. But being transparent and authentic and collaborating when and where you need help and asking for that help, I found that people are genuinely, they'll take care of you. I think if you try to fake your way through it, it can be problematic. So one of the things that's been really helpful is, and what I mean by collaborating too, is becoming well-rounded. Go learn how the different lines of business operate and function, and it will serve you very well when you are collaborating because you're able to articulate and communicate internally, that you do have their back. You can demonstrate that and you get trust very quickly. And so a lot of people aren't very good at that. They come with their own agenda and topic in mind, but they haven't thought through okay, how does that impact Sly and the partner team? And, how can they drive greater partner success in these areas? And how is he measured and what does he need? And not a lot of people take the time to go learn all the areas of the business. So, I think that's a big one. And getting some of that cross-functional learning and training in your own organization or in your customers' organization and environment can pay off in spades.
I definitely would echo that again. The collaboration piece that's how you can find problems before it happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can find projects that you're about to work on. And I could find, hey, Regina, you working on that now? I'm glad I asked because I was about to do the same thing and wasting time. And I think you're just being vulnerable. And I remember at Microsoft when I first came, they made us read a book, Dare to Lead, by Brene Brown, and it talked about being vulnerable, being able to say what you said. I don't know that, but I'm willing to learn, right? And because when you do that, people are like, okay, I'm willing to help. And then that can solve a lot of your problems, right? I know earlier in my career as a tech person, that was hard for me. It's like my biggest fear is going in front of an account when I became a traveling engineer and not knowing what to say. And then my senior rep was like, that's going to happen. Like, this, accept it. That's going to happen. Just know how you're going to respond to that. That's a fantastic question, Regina. At this time, I don't know that, but let's take this offline and let's work on it. And then Regina's like, okay, that's great, Slide, but get back to it, right? And then you get the answer, because no one really cares how you got the answer. They want to know that you can get the answer, right? And then sometimes I would find the senior reps will do that intentionally because they know you don't know it. They want to see if you're willing to say you don't know it, because then they can trust you. And you can play that game too. So it's that was really good advice. I think that's something that we all can leverage and learn from is collaboration, because especially like in a large organization like Microsoft, that tends to happen. They become siloed. And Virginia like, hey, Sly, what is the sales team doing? I'm like, I have no idea. But then what I started doing is proactively calling those teams. Hey, what do you do? So then when you do call, hey, I do know what they're doing, Regina. This is who you should talk to. This will save you some time. And then you appreciate it from your role. So that was great. I know you tend not to talk about your personal accomplishment, because as a leader, your proudest accomplishments is your subordinates, the people on your team, but if you can recall, what is one of your proudest accomplishments in your career?
I'm going to say that it has yet to happen yet.
Okay.
There are a few moments where I think about, as a team, we had some pretty significant accomplishments. But when I think ahead of what our team today is planning for and working towards, I'm most excited about that. So can I come back someday and share that with you?
100%. Yeah, we had our first lady who came back to share her story when she went from an individual contributor to a manager and shared that experience. So yes, we will definitely hold you to that. We'll get back to you in a few years or a few months or whatever time it takes. So that's a good answer though. It's yet to be created. So that's great.
Right.
I guess let's take it back a little bit. Some of the people who watch this podcast are now starting out in their technology career. They're very intimidated because, in tech, we talk in jargons, we talk in acronyms. What would you share with someone who's now getting started in their tech career?
Well, I'm going to encourage everyone to always be learning. You said it. You said I figured out I didn't know something I needed to know, and I go figure it out. Yeah. It's like you are the poster child for what it takes to be successful in technology. Because if you don't know something, you want to go figure it out. So if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to go get that knowledge. You have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and learn. And whether that's, I don't write code today. I have a lot of wonderful people I work with who are highly technical. And today I'm on the business side and with our customers and our partners. And so that's where I felt like that's where my strengths were. So identify very quickly what your strengths are. And you can do that in tech. You can be in marketing in tech. You can be in HR in tech. You can, we need more women representation in the tech sector. It's not all about, the technology itself. If you find a technology that excites you, get 2 inches deep in knowledge and learning and go apply for the job that really will allow you to build upon your strengths. And so I think that's a big one where a lot of people think, oh, if I'm going to go work for an ISV, or if I'm going to go work for a CSP, or I'm going to go work in the channel somewhere, that I have to be highly technical. And that's not always true. But if that is your passion, don't ever stop learning. Look at good grief, look at what's happening in AI right now and the changes that are happening so rapidly. If you don't have a voracious appetite for constantly learning, it'll be harder.
Correct. And I would add on that is make sure you try to join a group. You can join a council like the Women in Tech Network.
Mhm.
Girls That Code. It's like a plethora of groups in there for men and women to join. Because one thing I did is I got I guess, indoctrinated with multiple tech groups or techies. So then I would understand that. But when I want to make that transition into business and leadership, I go hang out with owners. I go to different events. I go to lawyer events, legal events. I go to finance events. I go to reporting events because that's where I know that that's what they're doing. So then I can become a student of that. But that all goes back to the curiosity to learn and not being afraid to ask people for help. You know, sometimes you will get told no. People are busy. We all have lives. You got families in addition to our job. So you will get that no, but that no might be a not now. Do you got
Right.
the tenacity to take that no and turn it and then follow up in the future year? And you know, sometimes that maybe that's just my sales and marketing background, but you know, I always been, you know, a not now, right? You know, I hear a no, you know, not now, and I come back to it. And then you could keep trying to learn, meet people. There's so many events, and now the events after COVID are online. I give you an example. I work at Microsoft, but I signed up for the Google Next, their
Mhm.
tech event. So I can
Mhm.
watch and learn about that and data and AI. Why not? Why wouldn't I want to know about what's going on there? Why would I want to know what's going on in AWS? Why do I want to know what's going on in Crayon and what they're doing, what contributions that their leadership is doing? So that's some of the stuff I would add on there is it's going to be challenging. It's nights that the last little bit of hair I do have left, I'm pulling out because I'm trying to make that leap because you always is always another level you can get to. It's up to you just to define what level you're comfortable at. And whether that's an individual contributor or that's a senior executive, right? There's still another level you can get to. And that's the beauty of this thing. But it's you know, if you love learning, this is going to be a great area for you. So I did want to get into the next question is I had the honor, the privilege to work with you, and there's some amazing women in there. Can you
Mhm.
share some of the women within the company that are contributing and you know to your company's advancement? Because I don't know how many of my audience know about Crayon.
Oh, that's it's hard to even know where to start, but I am so grateful for the organization that I'm part of. Our global CEO is a woman, and she fosters an environment of diversity, which is fantastic. Um, and truly, I think that from data scientists to who are doing some amazing work in the agricultural space, in the legal profession. We have female data scientists who are in the healthcare profession who are helping detect signs of colon cancer far advanced before the actual cancer can be detected. Those are all projects and areas where we've got women who are either in data science or in sales and in front of the customer, working together with customer to modernize their businesses. And so I would even tell you that in Crayon US, our executive leadership team is 50% female. I don't know any other IT organization in the channel who's 50-50, which is more representative of the population of the planet. And so I'm very proud of that, but we're focused on it and we're really thinking about how can we set the tone and lead by example in the market. And you have to put a lot of effort behind it. But it's also about doing everything that we can to attract young girls to this industry and towards technical professions, because we've got some amazing women like Melissa Mulholland who are really trailblazers in helping lead women in tech, and then working on building our network to make sure that we continue to drive that within our organization, and that we give everyone equal opportunity within their technical professions or non-technical professions in our business, and really trying to demonstrate to the market that we're sincere about it.
That's fantastic. I think we also know you're sincere about it when you have 50-50. And I met some of the ladies that are there and they're really great. So kudos. That's great for Crayon. I continue. I love working with you guys, and that's a fantastic story. And I know we're getting closer to the end of this podcast. I did want to touch on, I know you're a member of the board of Women Executive Channel Advisory Network. Can you tell me a little bit more about that role and, how do you contribute to it?
Oh, I'd love to tell you about that. So I am so honored to be part of this group of women who really are about driving women in technology into VP and higher levels. So there's a lot of wonderful organizations like WIC and WIT and a lot of great organizations and teams, but this board is comprised of executive women in the IT channels, mostly tied to the CSPs, who are all about helping cultivate women who are now in mid-management and at the director level who want that VP and above title and working towards the boardroom. And so this organization has an opportunity that, managerial level women can join, participate, come, learn, and grow. And then we're also always looking for more board members who can help foster the mission and drive the mission overall within the organization. We have a lot of opportunities coming up in the fall. For example, we're doing a webinar on executive presence for women that's coming up here pretty soon. So you can go to Women Executive Channel Advisory Network, or WECAN, online and look at those opportunities. We're also on LinkedIn, and I would encourage anyone who has dreams of being at the executive table to come check us out and follow us on LinkedIn. We are here in full support, full volunteer organization that wants to help.
I think this is what we touched on about before, right? Being able to, define where you want to go. And then when you get there, finding like-minded individuals who's on the same journey as you. They might be a little bit further, maybe a little bit behind, or they're on the same level, but you're in it together. And I think that's what WECAN is about, right? Is helping you take that next step and probably helping remove those obstacles before you get there. So then you already know how to navigate through the complexities of being in that senior leadership role. So that's fantastic. So we at the end. Before I let you go, Regina, because this has been absolutely delightful, how can my audience get in contact with you?
On LinkedIn, Regina Manfredi, Manfredi. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me an IM note, and then just regina.manfredi at Crayon, as well as another great way to reach me. And Sly, I'm so grateful that you asked me to be here. And I learned from you too. So thank you for this.
Oh, you're welcome. This is outstanding. And guys and gals, make sure to send her a message and tell her that Sly sent you. And until next time, Sly Gittens and Regina are out. Peace.